like to welcome, this is Rtn Susane Rea, President, Rotary Club of Focus, Rotary District 3282. And as you might have noticed at my back, the Rotary Area of Focus talk. So we have named it, coined it as RAFT. So RAFT floats and goes one place to the other. So this is somewhat like that. The knowledge we gain through these meetings and sessions, so it enriches us to go to the next level. So that's the bottom line of understanding, you can say. And today we are going to have this session to mark, as you know, this is the Rotary Foundation month, November, and also to in line with the Rotary Area of Focus, which is disease prevention and treatment. So that's the idea. And we feel very fortunate to have amongst us Rtn Susane Rea, so whose brainchild is the world's greatest meal to help end polio. So we'll listen to her after some time. And then that we have 2 districts represented in one national polio plus committee, so which is chaired by PDG Ishtiaq Zaman. So we have invited him, but he is in Boston, USA. So as far as time is concerned, it is not convenient for him to join. He sent a message, which I would request Dr. Bimal Chaudhary, past president of our club, to read out. The message sent by National Polio Plus Committee Chair, PDG Ishtiaq Zaman. So now I would request Dr. Bimal Chaudhary.
Thank you, all participants. Good evening to you all. I am past president, Dr. Bimal Chaudhary, Rotary Club of Cox's Bazar Shoykot. I am also one of the member of the National Polio Plus Committee. So you know our chairman PDG Rtn Ishtiaq Zaman is now staying in the Boston. He sent the message. And I'm reading. It gives me great pleasure to know that Rotary Club of Cox's Bazar Shoykot has planned their Rotary Area of Focus Talk 4 on the world greatest meal to help end polio, which is to mark Rotary Foundation month in line with the Rotary Area of Focus, disease prevention and treatment. Today, we are a major force for lasting change, and we are needed now more than ever. We have had to adapt to harsh new realities of a global pandemic and economic turmoil. We are the people of action, dedicated to working together to create lasting change at home and abroad. The Rotary Foundation belongs to the world, but without your support, none of work is possible. We need the following steps for the Rotarians in Bangladesh and in elsewhere. These are the following. We are engaged our all clubs and the community to raise awareness about polio. Number 2, we will start a social media conversation to get everyone connected. We will hold an event like the World Polio Day, which was celebrated on 24th October 2020 and throughout the year. We will advocate to the Gulf of Bangladesh to continue supporting our efforts to end polio. We will make a contribution and will invest in one of the largest global initiatives. So, be a character in our story, be a solution to our challenge. Polio eradication is possible. Let's keep our promise. In this seminar, giving our efforts and wish her good health to be able to continue her good work. Thanks to all participants, Rotary and PDG Ishtiaq Zaman, Chairman, National Polio Plus Committee, Bangladesh Chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. Now, I would like to give an introduction about Susane Rea. So some of us might have known her personally, but for the benefit of all, I would like to read out her intro here. So Rotarian Susane Rea joined Rotary in June 1993 as the only female member in the Rotary Club of Cairns, Sunrise, District 9550, Australia, of which she became a president later on. And now she is the District Polio Chair for 2020-21 for District 9550. Her interest in Rotary made her serve as International Director and Club Membership Director and Youth Exchange Counselor, host parent, and area membership representative. An active and giving personality in Rotary, Rtn Rea had been recruited as Promotions and Development Coordinator for Rotary Australia World Community Service in Northern region of 5 districts, and she held a seat on National Committee. Her fundraising interest led her to an appointment as District 9550 Annual Program Fund Fundraiser, and her district achieved the second highest position in fundraising. One of her remarkable projects was to raise funds for mitigating the plight of children in the Golden Triangle area of Thailand, where stateless children are trafficked as sex slaves or drug runners. Her fundraising efforts resulted into $130,000 to build homes close to a school to educate Hill Tribes children. With the blessing of her own club, the world's greatest meal to help end polio was conceived in 2016, and since then it has grown into major success with the help of Rotarians globally. A polio survivor herself, Susane was part of the End Polio Breakout Panel at the Sao Paulo Convention in 2015 and Seoul Convention in 2016, where she presented the concept of the world's greatest meal to help end polio. Currently, she is a major donor, level 2, and supports the Rotary Foundation. Besides, she has taken it as a personal life challenge to assist the funding of the endgame of polio. She is a recipient of the citation for meritorious service to the Rotary Foundation in 2013 and International Service Award for a Polio-Free World 2014 and 15. Susane Rea was awarded Order of Australia in 2017 by the Governor General on behalf of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Susane is a widely traveled Rotarian who has traveled to 47 countries for speaking at clubs, district conferences, institutes, special events, pets, etc. to support total polio eradication, successful social media, public image, and membership. She is an early childhood educator by profession. So thanks. I think I have been able to give some aspect of Susane Rea. So, I mean, a person's life is not easy to portray within a very short while, like 2-3 minutes, but I think we can have a glimpse from this. So next, I think when I approached Susane Rea, I told her that there might be people who may not be very much aware of the world's greatest meal to help end polio, the project. So then she very kindly sent a video to us, which I would like to share now.
We have stopped endemic polio in all but 2 countries. Until polio is stopped in these countries too, it's still a threat in every country. We need you to keep up the good work until we can certify that the whole world is polio-free, that no child anywhere will ever suffer from this terrible disease again.
The world's greatest meal started as an idea, a thought bubble. And then I reached out, as Rotarians do, to other Rotarians that I know. The idea is that people get together, they have fun, they have fellowship, they eat, and then they give some money.
The World's Greatest Meal Initiative works on the basis that for every pound or dollar or yen or euro you contribute, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation will actually match it in the sense that $1 becomes $3 thanks to them. Each immunization costs 60 cents, so it will help quite a few children.
I just can't believe that the fundraiser has gone so well and that we've been able to make such a difference to the children.
I admire the Rotary Club's interventions so much. They're well thought out and enacted.
When we set our mind to do something, we don't do it in half measures. We go out there and achieve what we're promising. And in 1985, Rotarians across the world pledged to rid the world of polio. And at that time, there are 1,000 new cases each day in 125 countries across the world. We've seen India declared polio-free, and now polio is only endemic in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And we really are this close to ending polio.
The plan is that by 2018, polio will be eradicated, and this is a very detailed plan, and the cost of doing this endgame strategy over 5 years is $5.5 billion. Of that, we have $5 billion committed, and at the moment the task force is concentrating on filling that gap of $500 million. And so we do that by regular meetings with politicians, both at national level and with the EU, and encouraging them to keep polio in their budgets.
I'm here in a clinic in Accra, in Ghana. Wherever I go and do my work, the Rotarians have been there before me. It is a very humbling thing to discover just exactly what putting service before yourself adds up to when you see it in practice on the field.
Rotarians are very much active players. We don't stand on the sidelines. We're in the middle of the field, actively participating.
Out of that, that's as much as skill as you need.
To me, it's all about giving back to the community, volunteering with your time, with financial contribution, and the energy and enthusiasm to give back to the community.
You can actually use your knowledge and your business skills, but also you can actually get involved and have fun. And I think the having fun bit is really good, because Rotarians together, collectively, are really good, lively people.
Polio became an important issue to me when I was 4 years old, and I woke up one morning and couldn't move. I couldn't get out of bed. I remember clearly my mother and father calling the doctor and being placed in Birmingham Children's Hospital, where I was in isolation for about a year. I was lucky to live in a first world country. I don't want other children to be faced with this issue when it is eminently doable. Polio can be eradicated from the world. It takes the will of many, and it takes money.
Thank you, Susan, for the video. I think every one of us, we have enjoyed. And now we get to the presentation. Can you see the presentation?
I can. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
If I can, that's a good start.
Yes. Yep.
So when you want me to start, you tell me.
Should I start countdown? 10, 9, 8,
No,
7,
just
5,
say now.
6, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Start. Action.
Okay, action it is. So I just want to point out that this is my personal response to how ending polio. There's a lot of great people in the Rotary world who've done amazing things. and a lot of people who are working very hard at very different levels. When I became involved with the End Polio Now idea, I was inspired by a PDG, or now PDG in Pakistan. His name is Shahzad Ahmed, and he's still a great friend. When World's Greatest Meal was conceived, I also met another friend, and we talked about this idea together, and then we started a group. So it does take friends and reaching out to people. Most of my outreach has been via Facebook, and that's how I came to know Shaida, and I came to know Bill, and various other people who may or may not be on this call, because I'm not looking at that, I'm looking at this. So this is about me, and then I hope to give you some insights into what is happening about polio, and even a bit about what is happening in relation to COVID, because this area of prevention and disease control, well, we haven't succeeded in preventing COVID because there is no vaccine. So that is another big issue. With polio, we have succeeded nearly everywhere in the world because of a vaccine and because of certain other measures. And now we just need to succeed in these two countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan. A lot of what you're going to see concerns Pakistan because it's the accessible epicenter of polio now. I never had the, actually I had a few invitations to go to Afghanistan, but nothing serious and nothing that I felt secure enough to take up. So you will hear about Pakistan and Africa, where I've both traveled and lived. So let's proceed to the next slide, please. Next. So through Facebook, I made a lot of friends. And then at some point it said 5,000 friends, you can have no more friends. So I decided to set up a page and have this page, but this page is more about serious information about polio. My friend Bill Peacock sends me many links on a daily basis. I think he must subscribe to some lot of magazines or information. And some of these I put up here. Recently, Mintu Ibrahim from Bangladesh, your countryman,
yes, Mintu Ibrahim.
Started, yes.
He was supposed to join.
Yes, he was supposed to. Well, he's not here. Okay, I can talk about him then. He started this group called End Polio Now. So this has proved very popular, and I'm also sharing a lot of information there. Now, this is not just for me or for Mintu. This is for anyone in the Rotary world who wants to share information about ending polio. So posts are welcome. We do have post approval, but I think that's very important in any group as well. And it's proving quite successful. So next slide, please. So getting information out is extremely important because if people don't know about anything, they cannot do anything about it. I used to travel the world, and this was a poster made for me by one of my very dear friends, Jose from Brazil. And it was, where shall she go next? Well, she used to go actually to all over the world, traveling through millions of airports, it seems sometimes. I think one year I was on over 100 planes. And it was a frenetic lifestyle. But now I'm sitting in just north of Brisbane, a few thousand kilometers at the top of Australia, where it's very peaceful, very nice. We have no COVID here, and we are living a very privileged lifestyle in 2020. So I'm reaching out on Zoom, and if someone invites me, we will sort it out as to where we can go. So I might be in America, I might be in Bangladesh, Pakistan, South Africa, anywhere in the world. even New Zealand, which is just not a very big participator in end polio as far as I can understand. So if you want me to come and talk to you, just invite me. So I go via Zoom now. Okay. Next, please. So there's been many wonderful memories of traveling. And I'm not sure if the Rotary Flame ever came to Bangladesh. It was a project of the Rotary Club of Madras. And I'm here with the then president in Chennai. In the bottom, I'm in Sao Paulo. And the top, we took the Rotary Flame to Egypt. That was the most amazing tour of Egypt you ever could have imagined. And in this picture here, you see mainly Pakistani Rotarians with the beautiful Jennifer Jones, who I'm so the first woman to lead Rotary. And I think most women that I know, and a lot of men are also very happy about this. On the extreme right of that picture, you see Shahzad, who was my inspiration. When he was district governor, he used to do so many polio activities and travel even to Afghanistan in those days. He was also the district governor for Afghanistan. Now he is the zone coordinator and in fact for Bangladesh as well. So some of you may know him. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia. There might be one other country, but I think that's his zone. It's a great privilege to have traveled, and you can see that it's not all hard work. We actually have a good time. But the idea is when you're having a good time, you give some money as well. And that money goes to the Rotary Foundation Polio Fund. It doesn't go to Susane Rea, it goes to the Rotary Foundation Polio Fund. And when you make a donation, you donate direct. We just celebrate what you do on Facebook. And this is a lot of fun. We have fantastic groups and a lot of good friends around the world who enjoy looking at what's going on. I must say that Bill and his friends have a lot of events. There's hardly a day goes by when something isn't happening down there in Queensland, in Bribie Island. And he's a great guy. Next, please. A little bit serious now. I'll be a little bit serious. So in 1988, you saw that most of the world was red, and that indicates that polio was endemic. And then we fast forward into 2014. And the reason that I still use this slide, because it was a huge effort for India to become polio-free. One of the most impoverished in many ways countries in the world, but with a great organization and the people, the Rotarians, and the other people in World Health and UNICEF made a huge effort to get polio out of India. You know now that Nigeria has just been declared polio-free in 2020, which might be the only good thing that is happening in 2020 as far as I'm concerned, because it seems to be people facing challenges from COVID and poverty as well as actual disease. Next, please. Very much so. You heard me mention the fact that we don't have a vaccine for COVID. Now, this week we've heard that, anyway, one of the big companies, Pfizer, that's right. Pfizer has a vaccine, which I think is going to save the world. I'm a little bit skeptical about this vaccine because it has to be stored at minus 80 degrees or something ridiculous. It's not going to be easy to give to all the people in the world if this storage is going to need to be so cold. It has to be stored in dry ice. I know the challenges of getting just the ordinary polio vaccine in the cold chain. Getting that to people in remote areas is hard enough. We are relying a lot on science. Science is the basis of the polio eradication campaign. We look at surveillance. People are just becoming aware in places like Australia that if the sewerage has COVID vaccine sheds in there, that it shows that there are some active people in that area. We know this through polio, and every week or every few days, water supplies around the world are tested for polio and now for COVID. So lessons are being learned through polio that we can apply to COVID to the benefit of contact tracing and finding out where the people are in the smaller places. I do realize that in huge cities, it's just not going to be helpful, but in small places and places like Australia, where we don't have so many people, if there is the COVID virus is found in the sewage, find the people who have the problem and make sure that they quarantine and don't go out, you know, infecting other people. We are lucky, I recognize in Australia, to have a small population, even though Melbourne, one of our big cities, has just recently is coming out of a lockdown, and they've just been very happy to achieve 2 weeks of nil community transmission, which is great. So this is very helpful. But in big cities, it's a much bigger problem because there are more people. The virus doesn't travel by itself. It travels because we travel. So the same with polio, when people move around the world, it's important that they've had the polio vaccination. I do know through personal knowledge, because Nauman, my husband, is Pakistani, that when he was coming to Australia, as part of his visa, he had to prove a recent polio vaccination. So I'm glad that all countries, even though polio has not been here for many years, all countries are thinking strategically about the way that viruses travel. I don't think that COVID is going to be the last virus that we have to face. And I think it's good if we all become much more savvy about transmission and also prevention. So prevention and disease control, which is one of the areas of focus for the Rotary Foundation, I have seen has had some grants available. They have mainly been for PPE and other things in places where the health services are not keeping up or not able to afford these things, and they're sorely needed. Because we can't kill off all our doctors and health workers. And they're the people on the front line every day, and we must thank them. The same with these people we see in my slides. These are polio workers, and they're probably paid very little money, but they go to extreme lengths to find every last child in whatever country they're in. You know, up in the north of Pakistan and in Afghanistan, it's very mountainous, and there might be pockets of children living in remote villages. We must reach every one of those children to achieve success and knock the virus out. Next, please. I keep saying that vaccination is the key because it is. Vaccinating in Pakistan, the first time I went there, it was amazing for me that we went to the zoo. Why did we go to the zoo? We went to the zoo because that's where we could find the children. And on a Sunday, we set up a table and invited parents to bring forward their children. And we were giving small incentives like balloons and pencils and lollies. So, you know, we had our fair share of children coming forward. But the idea is to get them vaccinated, and the parents have to agree. We have to acknowledge we can't order every parent to vaccinate their child. They have to agree. So winning the hearts and souls of the parents is extremely important in preventing disease. In India, the first time I went there, I went to a city called Salem, and the DG who's next to me vaccinating a child, he told me, we are going vaccinating today, and if you go to one booth, you have to go to all 22, Suzanne. And I said, no problem. Oh my God, what was I letting myself in for? I was exhausted, but we did it. We did it. We went to all 22 booths on World Polio Day. I'm pretty sure it was in 2014. Going to Africa was another amazing experience. And I didn't go to Nigeria, but I was in Uganda. And when I was in Uganda, I went to speak to the district polio man from the health department, along with the district polio chair from Rotary. And they were telling us that the numbers were very down. You know, they were not giving the vaccination to a lot of children. In fact, about 50% of children were vaccinated. And also some letters, emails, flying backwards and forwards to Evanston. I was part of helping a big grant of $500,000 US come through trustee Sam Oweri, who we lament never did make it to be Rotary International President, very sadly. These children were part of a campaign that was then to be, where every club was asked to set up a table in a slum. The local health department invite children for vaccination. The parents, well, especially the mothers, were being vaccinated for hepatitis and other diseases. And when you saw the poverty, I have seen poverty, but in Africa, it seems to be of a very deep, a really deep poverty. It's hard to describe how you feel when you see beautiful children virtually living on a rubbish dump. And I know it happens in other places too. But here was I in this place, vaccinating the children, and they were so gorgeous. And I just think every child is precious, and I don't care where a child comes from. They can come from anywhere in the world. Every child deserves to get measles or forthcoming for whatever disease is the most threatening. We must keep up the fight to vaccinate the children, because then their health will be protected. Next, please. We talk about immunization milestones. Well, there's going to be another one coming up very soon. So the return on investment, they reckon, is if you spend $1 on vaccination, you save $44. Now, my friend Bill is in a wheelchair. He's had a lot of money spent on, because of the lack of a vaccine at the time, spent on his healthcare. I'm similar. I was born before the vaccine and contracted polio when I was 4, living in the UK, England to be precise. Later on, and since then, having become weakened at around the age of 50 with post-polio syndrome, I've had 18 operations on my legs at the cost to the Australian government. So for the sake of $1 spent for the vaccine, it's cost the health department a lot of money. Vaccines work, and they do prevent so much. We have moved through several vaccines for polio, and the introduction of the injectable vaccine. Every child in Pakistan, the newborns, are given the injectable vaccine. And I'm very glad to hear that, and Afghanistan, by the way, because at least with that, you know that the child is getting the vaccine into their bloodstream and not either vomiting it back at you or excreting the vaccine, which does happen with the oral polio vaccine. And that's why we need to have multiple doses given to children in many countries, sometimes because of malnutrition, and this has its own inherent dangers. But there is a new vaccine that's been paid for by Bill Gates, and he's also paying for 200 million doses, which is going out. I thought it was September, but then I was looking at what Michael Zafran was saying from World Health, and he was saying January, to be used in Africa to try and counter this problem we're having with vaccine-derived polio. And when children get vaccine-derived polio, it's because there's been insufficient vaccination rates in that particular area, and an unvaccinated child has picked up a live virus. Of course, this is the same. It's a terrible thing. Thank you. So I'm really glad that Africa is polio-free. On my left at the top, you can see polio survivors in Nigeria. And they are a great resource for going to talk to parents and to go house to house with the vaccinators and help and say, look, take this, your child will get this crippling disease. And this idea works. I've also seen this in Pakistan, where I met a group of polio survivors in Multan, and they were very proud that they went out to all the villages and spoke to the parents, especially those who had refused the vaccine. And I think it's very useful to be using polio survivors in this way. I might add that polio survivors have nothing wrong with their brains. Look at me, for instance. And there are other notable examples, of course. We see in the top right picture, Mike McGovern with Tunji Funcho, and they are two of the leading lights of polio eradication. And, you know, it's just amazing that Nigeria has managed against all the odds to become polio-free, but they must keep up the vaccination rate. Otherwise, there will be problems ahead. When I was traveling in Africa, I was invited to speak many times on the radio, and I don't know how effective that was, but I was happy to do that. And on the right, you see me at a World Health rally in Zambia, and essentially just telling the people that we need to keep up the vaccination rate, because it's so easy to say, oh, we won't worry about it. You know, there's no polio around here. Well, if there's no polio around here, it's because children are vaccinated. And for that, we must keep it up. Next, please. I'll let you look at this pie chart yourselves. You can see it's quite an expensive exercise apart from the cost of the vaccine. Raising awareness. Now, every time one of us talks on Zoom or puts a post on social media, which is a more usual thing to do, we are raising awareness about polio. And we are not costing the Rotary Foundation to do that. But it's a really important thing that Rotarians think about what is happening, have events, and this is where World's Greatest Meal comes in. Because through having events, we're making people think, okay, well, they're having a good time and they're actually giving a little bit of money. And this is all going towards the costs of vaccinating children and getting rid of polio eventually. And we saw Judith in that video, which was actually taken in 2014. And I had brown hair then. But it's just, she was saying we're going to be finished in 2018. Well, we know we are not finished. It's 2020 now. I don't know when polio will finish. It's going to take more money. It's going to take determination. And COVID in some ways has helped because it's raised the profile of a virus in a negative way, maybe. But it has also interrupted the polio campaigns in several countries, along with measles and other diseases preventable by vaccination. So we are going to look at this and say, it will be over when it's over, I think. and we have to work hard. Next, please. Traveling in Pakistan was a great privilege. Those of you who know me know that I'm married to a Pakistani, and all the Rotarians there were extremely helpful, getting me into places that normally I wouldn't be able to go. This is run by World Health, this Emergency Operations Center, and this amazing computer called the Dashboard is funded by the World Bank. And there, in real time, we can see how the vaccination campaign is going. Vaccinators are all around giving the vaccine. Sometimes the children aren't there. They have to make a note of that to come back. A missed child is a missed opportunity. They must be found. And as all this is happening, this amazing computer is going tick, 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 tick. It was quite fascinating. I was very lucky to go there. Next, please. I've had some little, very small part in helping to train polio workers. On the left, you can see me holding the Rotary flame. And this is near Islamabad in Pakistan. And I'm telling these polio workers, and a lot of them do speak English, although my words were translated into Urdu, that they are not alone, but we are relying on them to do their jobs properly. And we in the, outside of Pakistan are funding the effort to get rid of polio out of Pakistan. Some of them were quite amazed. They really thought they were a little bit of an island and that they were there by themselves. I think it was helpful to know that Rotary is behind them and other governments around the world, wishing them great success. When you look at the bottom slide, we're still in Pakistan, and these ladies are being trained in Karachi and to be the polio workers going door to door. I believe in speaking to Bangladesh, that I'm speaking to a Muslim country. And so you understand that it's not that appropriate for a man to be entering another man's home when he is not there. And the polio workers, being female and knocking at the gate, are more likely to get admittance, which is what we need to do. We need to get those children, find all those children under 5 and give them the vaccine. And by way of contrast, these ladies are being trained in Afghanistan, and I like the contrast that they are all wearing white. So the polio workers in Afghanistan are wearing white, and the ones in Pakistan are wearing black. And I can't tell you why. Maybe somebody can tell me. Next, please. We found with COVID what an issue is when children are carrying the virus, even adults occasionally, but mainly children are carrying the virus internally, and they move. So they are bringing the virus from different places. So Afghanistan and Pakistan are connected by a very long border. I think it's 2,400 miles long. It's mountainous. It's not controlled in the same way as, we might expect. There's no wall. People wander from place to place, in and out. Some villages are half in Pakistan and half in Afghanistan. When they were built, nobody cared about a line separating these countries. So sometimes the parents of these children decide to go looking for work, and where more natural for them to go, decide to go than Pakistan. So they pack up the family and they go sometimes in buses, and they wander down into Karachi looking for work. Sadly, a lot of them end up in this internally displaced persons camp, which is perhaps one of the most horrible places I've ever been to in my life. There's no sewage. The homes are made of bits of cloth and bits of timber. Yet the parents there are obviously caring for their children. When you look at these lovely children that I met, I will always remember them. The polio teams pay special attention to these camps because I saw the other day, Karachi, vaccination rates were much lower than other areas of Pakistan. It's a real hotbed of the virus and has to be treated, and the people there have to be persuaded to take the vaccine. Thank you. So I'm just referring to the buses, and here we have a toll plaza which is going into Karachi. It's controlled by some organization next to the army, and they call them the Rangers, and they pull over all the buses. So there you see the young man in the middle with me with a cooler supplied by Rotary, and he is going to get on this bus and vaccinate every child that he can find who looks to be under 5 years old, or even 6 or 7, just to be sure. The polio workers are standing in front of a container where they leave their belongings for the day, and inside a refrigerator is refrigeration to keep the vaccine cold, but not like anything like Pfizer are imagining at, you know, minus 80 degrees. I've read minus 70, 80, and 90 degrees. And this is extremely cold and will make that vaccine very difficult to handle. So the polio vaccine is a little bit more friendly, but it must be kept cold. This young man will hop on the bus. He will vaccinate all these children. The bus will pause for him. He will cross the road and hop on another bus coming out of Karachi and vaccinate all the children who are leaving. The idea being to stop transmission in and stop transmission out of the polio virus. And it has helped. These toll plazas are situated all over Pakistan, also on the borders of Pakistan and Afghanistan. One of the big problems is a tribe called the Pashtuns, and they are a wandering tribe, and they seem to wander up and down through Pakistan, through Afghanistan, backwards and forwards. And 80% of the problem with polio is attributable to them, unfortunately. Yet they are quite a resistant group of people when it comes to taking the vaccine. Next, please. The Rotarians in Pakistan, they take a big pride in their activities and the awareness that they bring and the work that they do in their Rotary clubs all over Pakistan. Here we were at a seminar, a planning workshop in northern Pakistan. I was just taking part and very interested in what they were doing. We had speakers from World Health and UNICEF and Rotary, and then we were sectioned off into groups to come up with ideas of what our Rotary Club would do to help with the polio planning and the polio awareness and the delivery of vaccine in our particular town or city. And you can see my friend Foizia is there. Funnily enough, she's in New York and was talking to me today. She is writing all the ideas down. It's also very important to talk with the imams, but people have this feeling that the imams are the ones who are holding up the delivery of vaccine. And from what I can see, that is just not true. They are helping by speaking to the men at the masjid and telling them to allow their children to be vaccinated. There are problems with non-vaccination, but overall the vaccination rate is over 90% if you take the whole of Pakistan, which is pretty high. Next, please. A privilege when working in Pakistan is to go to a vaccination clinic. And this one was held inside a little hospital. Sometimes this is done, you know, for convenience, and the mothers were turning up and they were also looking for the general vaccines for measles, diphtheria, etc. Unfortunately, they weren't available. And you can see a lovely lady with her big fridge full of polio vaccines. and she was very proud of it. The mother in the middle is turning away. She doesn't want to see her baby being given the needle, but we all know that that needle is needed, and so does she, and that's why she's brought her baby along. Next, please. You've watched the video now, so I don't know if you want me to tell you about World's Greatest Meal, but I will just skip through it. It's a fun idea. How can we join in? Well, the best way is to go to the website, and there you have a lot of advice about the type of meal you can have. And this varies greatly. I've got a report waiting for Nauman to come home to post. And this district polio chair in the USA, in North Carolina, Virginia, she came up with the idea to have a Zoom, an online event. And they were charging $25 for a cooking class. I can tell you that the amazing amount of money that they have raised, which will be posted on our group tonight, $11,200. Any ideas are welcome. Some people jump out of planes, some people run, some people have meals, some people have cooking classes. Any excuse that you can put in a few dollars and sign up or let us know what you've done, we call it a World's Greatest Meal. You send the money to the Polio Fund yourself, as I've said before. Next, please. So step one, you sign up. Step two, you have your event and send away your money. Then you tell us what you've done. An event needs to be US $10 because the Rotary Foundation on their website. But you could have 50 people and all if you large. The important thing is participation. We are getting towards 500,000 people who've taken part in World's Greatest Meals. And for a little idea, it came out of a very little town in Australia. I'm very happy about that. But it couldn't be done without friends. You have to have friends. Next, please. So at the beginning of the year, so say March, April, everyone was hunkering down and there was no one running events. So we came up with the idea of being champions. And this is an individual donation. So you can give $10 or you can give $1,000 or whatever your pocket can bear. And you get a picture of yourself, which is published on Facebook, and along with your club and district. And just to give an idea too, that our friends in Nepal recently held a promotion and they got 290 people from their district to give funds ranging from $10 through to $500. A very, very successful little promotion for that district, which is quite a small, well, it's not that small, but a part of the world which really is conscious of polio, although happily polio-free, joined in this idea of World's Greatest Meal from 83 countries. Recently, we welcomed Sri Lanka, and we had an event from Indonesia, which we haven't had for a long time. And so it doesn't matter where you live or how deep are your pockets. You can become a champion, or you can have a conversation with a friend on Zoom or in Messenger and say, we are going to give a certain amount of money to the Polio Fund. Then you let us know about it and we celebrate your success and your generosity. Next, please. We have to again acknowledge Bill Gates. He gives $2 for every $1 that we raise. So $1 becomes $3. And yeah, and every year Rotary is desperate to raise that $50 million from us. And every year they seem to succeed. So we can chip in $150 million towards the End Polio effort. Next, please. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I've mentioned a few times. Center for Disease Control in the USA, which is one of the places where vaccines are developed. UNICEF and World Health, they largely help us through delivery of the vaccines. So we are often giving funds, or funds are going to them, but they are employing workers to help with awareness, ask the parents for permission to vaccinate their children, and actually delivering the vaccine on the ground. So I want to thank everybody, most of all Rotarians, who've made my life interesting. And I think that prevention is much better than cure, because sometimes there is no cure. There is no cure for polio, for instance. There are reports that if you get COVID, some people are skipping out of that quite well. Others have really been impacted. And of course, it's a killer. So prevention and disease control is a worthwhile area of focus for Rotary. I've dedicated my later life to helping with the end game of polio, and I will continue to. Thank you for listening, and to my friends from around the world who've tuned in. Probably you've heard me before, so I hope I've said something a little different to keep you interested. Let's together end polio now and not let this opportunity where we are this close slip away.
Thank you. Shahida wanted to say something.
Sure. Yes. It's nice to hear you, Susan. I know you since long, so it's no surprise to me that you are doing so good things worldwide. I mean, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and some African countries. So yeah, I'm applauded. I'm glad to hear your presentation, and I think those who are attending this meeting, they're also enjoying your presentation and your speech accordingly. I'd like to thank you from my heart, Okay. Now, I'm so much. I enjoyed your the whole thing, the event, and I'd like to thank Hasnan Bhai for attending, for inviting me to join, and Susan, you too. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Rtn Hasnan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You need to take my presentation down now.
So thank you to Susan for your wonderful presentation. Because of the time, I'm on the last leg of your presentation, so I could not hear the first, but whatever I've heard and I've seen on the screen, especially a country like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and other countries, it's great because of this, the contribution of the Rotary in polio and your efforts is really welcoming. And it's heartening to know that the area of activities and prevention that you are doing, that is which is more important than this, for this disease and other diseases too. So I hope we can take your experience for our own club and for our own district. So thank you very much, Ms. Suzanne. Thank you. Thank you.
So I have some questions, but I being the host, so I will go later on. I would like to see if Bill had something to share. Bill Peacock from Australia. Yes.
I have seen Susane's presentation, and it always enthuses me into doing my work. I would be delighted to see at some stage that Bangladesh had a World's Greatest Meal team member, because that is the way in which we can really work our way through ending polio now. And thank you for the privilege of being able to join you.
Thank you, Bill. And so the questions I had, one is, well, you being a survivor yourself, so it is not very surprising that you like the other children not to face the problem you faced, that you had faced long before. So that's quite obvious. But the more interesting issue is during this COVID time, how is it going as far as world's largest meal is, greatest meal is concerned?
You want me to tell you? Actually,
yes.
we are. It started quite slowly, and then we got this idea about the champions, which meant that people who were in lockdown could participate just on a personal basis or on a district basis. Okay. But the World Polio Day that we have just finished has been unprecedented for the number of events signed up and the number of events reporting. And Zoom has brought us all very much closer. So, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I did a Zoom meeting to a Rotary Club in Chennai in India. And then just the other day, they had their Diwali celebrations in their club. And they contributed, and this was via Zoom, I might add. And I think the take was $650 US. So the fact that a lot of the world is locked up has not diminished the amount of giving through World's Greatest Meal. Now, as I've said, we are lucky that we are out. Bill has a lot of events. Sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. On World Polio Day, he had a big event where people came and they ate pies. Now, this is a very Australian thing. And people are very good-tempered. They agreed to have a pie put in their face like this. But they raised money on the side for that. So it was like, it's just a bit of fun. And people in these days are looking for some fun. There's enough serious things going on. So I actually feel that World's Greatest Meal is doing well. And I mentioned this cookery class, which is just coming through. A lot of people all over the world are running events that are surprising me, how many are on Zoom, just sending their money into their local treasurer or direct to the foundation and telling the treasurer how much they raised. So the COVID hasn't actually stopped the fundraising through World's Greatest Meal. Bill, you want to say something?
I was just going to say that, you know, our Passport Club are in the middle of doing a recipe book from all over Australia for people who are going to give us recipes that are family traditions. And we will then sell that recipe book over a period of 12 months. And we will make money for World's Greatest Meal from that. People have been so enthusiastic cooking meals and photographing themselves cooking meals, and it's creating a lot of enthusiasm.
Okay. So you have to think outside the square. You see, COVID is a challenge, and so we are not meeting so often in our clubs where we might just pass around a hat and say, oh, this week we're collecting the sergeant's fines or the happy dollars for polio, or we're running a raffle. People are thinking, how else can I make money for polio? Because it's still needed. And they realize even more through COVID what a contribution is needed through donating to the polio fund.
That's right. To my understanding, before COVID, it was big events, collecting big sort of funds, but number of funds was not as many as it is now. The amounts are smaller, mostly coming from different families, maybe, or individuals, but I feel that the number of funds are higher than before. And I feel COVID has actually forced us to be more creative than ever before. The way Bill has mentioned this recipe book. By the way, I had a question to Bill. Do you have a guideline for the participants?
Yes, we do. They had to have their recipes in by a certain date. They're all in now. We have a publisher who has decided to donate the publishing fees.
Okay.
So that is wonderful. Our DG in our area is doing the forward along with Susane Rea in the front of the recipe book, make it exciting. And as foundation director for my club, we're finding that there's lots of different ways that we can donate to the foundation through World's Greatest Meal in ways that we've never thought about before.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we do have people doing crazy things too, like some friends in America decided to jump out of a plane. Obviously they had some sort of parachutes as well. And then they just, when they got to the ground, they had some a little meal, and then they donated because they were happy they landed safely.
Okay. That's
so I call this thing crazy for a cause. So
yes,
you know,
that's right.
Whatever
that's
you
right.
like to do. Another DG in England, she got on a zip wire. Do you know what a zip wire is? It's like an adventure thing where you hook yourself up to a big wire that travels usually over a canyon or through some trees.
That, right.
Yes, and she got sponsorship to do this. So, you know, there's all sorts of ideas. The ideas are limited only by your imagination. And look in our Facebook group and you will see so many ideas.
Why I was asking about this guidelines for this recipe book is there is a reason. As you have heard, Rtn Mahmudul Hassan, so our Rotarian, his wife, who is also a member of our Inner Wheel Club. So she's a good cook and recipe maker, and she's a national winner also. So, and she has a good
I would be very happy to send to you the process, the procedure that we used and the strategies to get the recipes in.
Yes, so we can promote that as well. So good. I think it's wide open for the whole world, right? Then you do the selection procedure. So in that case, there is no harm in promoting it. At least that way we can be part of it.
Yes.
So, and I think that would be very nice. That reminds me something. I mean, you have heard about Red Cross, right? Red Crescent or Red Cross.
Yes.
So there was one time they used to give advertisement in the newspapers saying that, okay, happy birthday to you, to those who have the birthday today, and on your birthday you can celebrate it. How? By donating blood, by saving a life. So that's a great, great way of promoting a good cause. So that was there. And actually what I feel is anything you do, the first thing you need is the heart. If you have the heart for it, if you get crazy for it, then you go about doing it. So there comes the head for strategies, for plans, everything. And then you do your work with your hands. So, and the first thing is, and which another very important thing you have mentioned, which is that if you want to do anything like this, you have to have friends. Without friends, actually, you couldn't have done what you have done. A remarkable job, but the friends came over. I think there is a great value in itself. Bill?
It's all about the team. It's all about the team. It's all about people who will help. You know, it's even if they do it for a little while.
Yes.
In there for a long time and are active every day. Some people come in and out depending on their life, you know, and how that's happening for them.
Every cup of tea that we have with friends, we have a very large polio pig. And we don't have to ask for money, they just donate. And it might only be, you know, 40, 20 US dollars, but it's every little bit adds up, and it's all with heart. And it's all for the love.
About in 2002 or 2003, so we decided to go for a raising fund to help children's education. So, and we had a meeting around 20 people representing 20 organizations. And so when it came to the money matter, that how much one is going to put in, then people had different alibis that, okay, I am already running a project over there, so I cannot do this. So, and after second or third person we asked for, then we decided not to go any further, because we got the bottom line that people are not interested to put their money in the project. So we said that, okay, since this is a house mandate, we have collectively decided, so can we take it forward from our organization? So, and everybody was very happy since they didn't have to touch their pocket. Okay. So, and then when we got back, so my folks were asking me that, okay, what do you plan actually to do it? So I said, okay, since we have committed, we will do it no matter how. So then we came up with a project called 12 Taka for 12 children a year. 12 Taka means it's around 1/7 of $1 now. So I'm talking about 2003, it would have been a little less. So you give me 12 Taka a year and I take the responsibility to support 12 children for their education. What was the math? The math was, at last we came up with that, and 12 Taka a year. So 1 Taka a month, it is nothing actually. It's like peanuts. But ultimately in the very first year, we were able to help 20 children instead of 12. So it is actually, no matter how big or how small, people contribute. But if the heart is there, then you can always do things. It gets done somehow. So there might be some ups and downs, but we should not be bothered about that. We should go forward and we can achieve something at least. So PDG Ahad is back. He took leave for the chairs. So, and he came back. I think now we can utilize his Whitson knowledge, Whitson wisdom. So,
thank you.
PDG Ahad, yes.
Thank you, Hasnain. Every month you are arranging a Zoom program very successfully, purposefully, and timely. So by the time you have become yourself a Zoom, so can we start saying you are Zoom Naik instead of Hasnain Sabin Naik? You have proved yourself to be Zoom Naik.
There is an English word called zombie. So it can be now Zombie.
Don't tell him that.
Thank you very much. You know, we have learned many things from the presentation of Susane on the polio. in his presentation, he has shown somewhere that 19% of the money is spent on detection. Detection, are we going for detection, or we are going to immunize all the children below the age of 5? So is detection that much important in polio, giving vaccine of polio? What is your observation, Susane, on that?
It is important because, you know, if you can, you know where the problem is, you can attack the problem. I mean, I'll give you an example quickly. In 2014, after the World Cup in Sao Paulo, they found the poliovirus in the sewage pond. So Rotary sent an emergency amount of money to the Rotarians in Sao Paulo, and they did a blanket vaccination of all the children, and there was not one. So if you know where the problem is and you can convey that to the parents, you can get them to agree to vaccination.
Yeah.
And, you know, in an emergency way. But on a routine thing, it is very important that children are vaccinated, not just for polio. You know, measles is coming back. We will have a lot of diseases coming back if the vaccinations are not kept up. And this is part of the prevention strategy. And that's why we are called Polio Plus as well. You know, everywhere we go, different cocktails are given in the polio vaccine. A big advantage in, for instance, in Pakistan, they're giving vitamins A and D. Well, the children there are very short of that. Parents are persuaded to take the vaccine just because of the vitamin A and D. So the hearts and minds of the parents are very important. Detection of where the issues are very important, because then if you know where the problem is, you can attack it.
Thank you, Susane. Got our answer. Thank you very much. In fact, do we have any individual study of Pakistan and Afghanistan? Is it gradually coming down as it is, or going up?
It's coming down. In fact, this year, in spite of the interruption, there hasn't been a huge transmission that we feared. It's under 150 this year, which is better than last year. We believe that partly this is because of the lockdowns and the fact that there's not been so much travel between you know, cities and other places, that the transmission hasn't been so great. Of course, in July, Trustee Aziz reintroduced the NIDs again, and they are still going on. Now, Pakistan is just about to go into lockdown again, unfortunately, because of a spike in COVID. But, you know, it's a matter of working with COVID and because some of the children have malnutrition as well. And it's a problem in Africa, India, Pakistan, that the children are not always hungry, but the quality of the food is not always good. So if the children are fed on white rice and chapatis or whatever, there's no vitamins in those sort of things. And sometimes when the vaccine is given orally, it's just passing all the.
Yeah, thank you very much. Same is the case with Afghanistan. It is very Pakistan, but Afghanistan.
I think we don't. Do we really know what is happening in Afghanistan?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Many Rotarians who were in this campaign have lost their lives while going out to immunize the children. Because people there, they think that by giving this type of immunization, we are trying to reduce Muslim community by giving this vaccine. That is a big misunderstanding. That's why we have to concentrate on awareness, which has been shown in your presentation.
Yes. Well, the fact that, you know, the vaccine is definitely you know, people are taught that it is haram, and that is not true. So we must get over this misconception. And the other, you know, they're thinking that there's a pig product in the vaccine. You know, the spreading of rumors in these countries is a big issue. Last year, there was a rumor started in Peshawar that the polio drops were causing illness in children. And the hospitals were overrun with children. And not one child died, but the whole of the vaccination program was turned upside down because of this person who started this movement on social media against the vaccine. You know, there are problems. We cannot say there are no problems.
These problems were also there. Yeah, were also there in India. They were facing in Muslim community. Then what they did, the imams, I mean the leader of the mosque, they themselves were made volunteers, so that through them it was eliminated. Similar things can be tried in Afghanistan mainly. Pakistan is better than Afghanistan. Now, slightly deviating from this subject, after, as we say, end polio now, we are on the verge of starting another campaign, end corona now. Now that there is a vaccine, hopefully has been developed by Pfizer, it is 90% efficient, but it has to be stored in -30° Fahrenheit temperature. So for that, we need containers. How can we move these medicines from one place to another where we don't have the containers? Dr. Bimal is here. I think structure such containers so that we can carry. Rotarians can, as usual, be volunteers to carry such containers from one continent to another, one country to another, so that
maintaining the temperature is very tough. -30 degrees is very tough. -30 degrees is very hard. Okay.
I'm hoping that a different vaccine will become available to this particular one. You know, that doesn't have the strong requirement for this very cold chain. Yeah. Anyway, we will see. We will see.
Maybe next Zoom program, Zoom Nayak may arrange a Zoom program on the possibilities of carrying such vaccines, effectiveness of that vaccines, and how long it will take us, at least 1 or 2 years, to get rid of this corona, so that we can say end corona now. Thank you, Nayak, very much. I am always here. I mean, সব সময় আপনাদের কক্সবাজারে যখন জুমের প্রোগ্রাম হয়, I think that this is my own club. একটা নারীর টানে আমি এখানে চলে আসি। এই নারীর স্পেলিং কিন্তু নয়াকার দর্শন র দর্গিকার র, not that নারী। নারীর টান মানে আত্মিক একটা সম্পর্ক আপনাদের সাথে গড়ে উঠেছে। And that's how I feel. Whenever I see any Zoom program going on or any program similar to this going on, I rush to the laptop and see where I can find my friends of Cox's Bazar who are so close to my heart. Thank you, Dr. Bimal, Dr. Sabin Nayak, and all my friends of Cox's Bazar. Hassan Bhai, you are just a survivor of the Third World War. Am I correct? You are a survivor from the Third World War.
Yes. Living in New York, right?
How did you survive? Maybe on some other time we will want to listen to you. We have had a lot of experience from the survivors, but case to case it may be different. So we may like to hear in some time how you could survive the Third World War. Thank you, Cox's Bazar, Rotarian of Cox's Bazar, Nayak, and everybody. Dr. Bimal, who is so close to me, and Dr. Shahida. Thank you for inviting me. I love to join your Zoom program. Anytime I know about it, and anytime I'm invited. Thank you, everybody.
Just for your information, me and Shahida, we are yet to become doctors.
I'm Rotarian Shahida Najida. I'm IPP of Rotary Club of Banani, Dhaka, and I'm from District 3281.
Oh, you're from Banani, Dhaka.
Banani, Dhaka. Yes. So our friend Bill Peacock, he has sent me a note that he had to leave. So however, now just a formality, formal vote of thanks to be proposed by Dr. Bimal Chaudhary.
Again.
Yes.
Again? Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay. Welcome and good evening to you all. So we are grateful to have all of you here with us in this great program. So I express my heartfelt thanks to Susane Rea, who has joined from Australia. So thank you very much. We enrich our knowledge by hearing your wonderful talk. So I thanks to Shahida Nach Huda. She joined from 3281, and I express our grateful thanks to Bill Peacock, who actually joined from Australia, and Sheikh Abdul Hadi. I think he left, but he joined from Washington, D.C. And we express our thanks and respect to PDG Ahad and first Assistant Governor, Mr. Mantosh. I think he joined from 3281. So at last, but not least, I want to thank you all for joining this Zoom meeting. So thank you again. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so all the best. It was really hearty to have you here with us, and we hope in future we'll be having more interactions like this and towards something, some tangible programs, visible programs. And we have already participated from our club for the Polio Plus Fund. So it's a